Welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk About Human Rights, the show in which we discuss all things related to human rights. I'm your host, Julz Allender, and I am part of the California chapter of Youth for Human Rights International. Youth for Human Rights International's purpose is to enlighten and educate people around the world about what their human rights are, with specific focus on the United Nations Universal Declaration of Human Rights. And with this education to enable and inspire the youth of today as our leaders of tomorrow to stand up and secure these rights for themselves and all people on earth. Today, we're diving into the cornerstone of human rights with Article 1, which states all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. This isn't just legal jargon. It's a profound assertion of our shared humanity, reminding us that the moment we're born, we're entitled to freedom and respect, regardless of who we are or where we come from. This principle challenges us to look beyond differences and see the equality in every person. Let's explore more about what this means for us. But first, let's take a look at a short video about this specific human right.
Can you tell which of these children was not born free? Can you tell which of these children was not born equal? Can you tell which of these children does not deserve to be treated with dignity? We can't either. Human right number one. We are all born free and equal. What are human rights? Find out at youthforhumanrights.org.
All right, let's dive into this. It starts off by saying all humans are born free and equal. Now, that's straightforward. This means every single human being on this planet, regardless of where they're from, what color their skin is, or what they believe in politically, is born with the same freedom and equality. You're included in this. Yes, you. Born free means no one gives you liberty. You come into this world with it, which should make us challenge any system that tries to take that away. The simple line sets the foundation for every other right we talk about. Next, we get into born in dignity and rights. Dignity, according to the dictionary, is about being worthy, honored, or esteemed. Every human has this from the get-go. You don't have to earn it. It is your birthright. Now, sure, you can mess up your own dignity by how you treat others, but no one can strip it from you. This is where things gets messed. Give that to you again. This is where things get messed up in society. Some folks try to say, "Oh, because of this or that about you, you're not worthy of dignity." They might point out your clothes, your accent, or God forbid, the color of your skin. But these are just excuses to deny someone their basic human respect. Historically, and even now, some have tried to dehumanize others just to justify mistreatment. But here's the thing. What truly matters is how someone treats others, how they contribute to society, their responsibility to their family, work, and community. And even if someone falls short, because who hasn't, that doesn't give anyone the right to treat them without dignity. Even in the worst of circumstances, like dealing with a criminal, you're still supposed to maintain a level of dignity in how you handle them. And that takes real strength. Moving on, the text says, we're endowed with reason and conscience and should act with the spirit of brotherhood. This means you've got the mental tools to think for yourself, to know right from wrong, and you're expected to treat others as equals with dignity. This shuts down any excuse for your bad behavior towards others. Here's the kicker: you're supposed to lead by example. If you want to be treated with respect, you've got to dish it out too. It's about setting the tone for how we all should interact based on mutual respect and understanding. So let's not get this twisted. Everyone deserves to be treated with dignity, no matter what. It's not just a nice idea, it's a fundamental human right that we should all be striving to uphold. In the wonderful essay written by the 21st century philosopher L. Ron Hubbard entitled What is Greatness? He points out this: the hardest task one can have is to continue to love his fellows despite all reasons he should not. And the true sign of sanity and greatness is to so continue. For the one who can achieve this, there is abundant hope. For those who cannot, there is only sorrow, hatred, and despair. And these are not the things of which greatness or sanity or happiness are made. A primary trap is to succumb to invitations to hate. There are those who appoint one their executioners, sometimes for the sake of safety of others. It is necessary to act, but it is not necessary to also hate them. To do one's task without becoming furious at others who seek to prevent one is a mark of greatness and sanity, and only then can one be happy. He goes on later in this essay to say, it is true that beings are frail and commit wrongs. Man is basically good, but man can act badly. He only acts badly when his acts, done for order and the safety of others, are done with hatred, or when his disciplines are found on the safety for himself, regardless of all others, or worse, when he acts only out of taste for cruelty. To preserve no order at all is an insane act. One need only look at the possessions and the environment of the insane to realize this. The able keep good order. When cruelty in the name of discipline dominates a race, that race has been taught to hate, and that race is doomed. The real lesson is to learn to love. He who would walk scatheless through his day must learn this. Never use what is done to one as a basis for hatred. Never desire revenge. It requires strength to love man and to love him despite all invitations to do otherwise, all provocations, and all reasons why one should not. Happiness and strength endure only in the absence of hate. To hate alone is the road to disaster. To love is the road to strength. To love in spite of all is the secret of greatness and may very well be the greatest secret in this universe. The reason I'm reading this to you as you travel through life, not everyone will treat you with equality and dignity, but that is no reason for you to do the same to them and be like them. You should stay true to the ideal of this first of our many humans' rights that, and I quote, all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. They are endowed with reason and conscience and should act towards one another in a spirit of brotherhood. And make that ideal a prominent fact in our cultures, as this is the foundation of the justice system, our social policies, and democracy. When it comes to human interaction, this is where you start. Today, we are joined by a truly inspiring individual whose journey spans continents. My guest is originally from the country of Iran and moved to Pasadena, California as a child. He's now a passionate motivational speaker focusing on women's rights, and he's also the host and producer of the insightful TV show Crossing Bridges. Please welcome the dynamic Nat Nadar to the show. Welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm delighted to be with you today. And I'm also delighted to be able to address to the audiences who are viewing this show that is so important and imperative for all of us to become familiar. And as Julia indicated, to truly respect each other as one human being and more importantly, as a member of a family under God.
Thank you. And again, we are honored to have you, and thank you for taking the time to be on our show. And we are very much looking forward to all of the knowledge and all of the journeys you've taken and all that you have to share with us today.
Thank you.
So we've decided to make this topic today women's rights, and you seem to have a lot of background in this area. What got you interested in human rights?
Well, I began my journey of life when I was around 16 years old. I had come to the United States at the age of 14 to pursue my education. I first landed in New York, and after a couple of years, I journeyed to California, and I was encountered with the civil rights movement of Dr. King. Of course, at that time, there were no TVs in Iran and no knowledge of what was taking place in this country. When I observed what was happening on TV, and our dear brothers and sisters of African Americans were being so treated unjustly and abused, beaten, and so forth, it really affected me. The more I found out as to why the civil rights movement is taking place, I was informed about slavery in this country. That really shocked me to the essence. How could the United States of America have slavery, a land of free, what I had heard so much and read about it in Iran? And that persuaded me to pursue human rights at that age. As I went on, of course, to college, universities, and then I also found out the dominance of men over women, that they felt they are the predominant force of universe and women are secondary. And I'm sure even today, as I speak to you, there are billions of women throughout the world who are not even considered as human beings. They are considered as owned by a man, do exactly what a man wants. Many of them are not educated. They don't have rights, even though the Human Rights Declaration gives them every single right as a human being, as a man. But unfortunately, because of lack of education, the lack of rights, government control, these women are not aware, and therefore they will continue to be what they are. So I started to really expand on that, what the women need to do, what rights they have. And to my opinion, as a journey of life, when I was in Iran, my father treated my mother more than equal. He honored her, treasured her with respect, with dignity, and that became part of us. And when we grew up, we started having the same respect for women. I've never looked at another young lady or a woman lower than me. There's no such thing. On the same level of eye level and on the same level of respect. And in some ways, I've encouraged the women during my seminars, lectures, and teachings that they are truly more stronger than a man. If they look at themselves, they're more compassionate, more caring, more loving. They make passionate judgment that suits their decision. They could become great leaders. They would avoid wars. They can stand more pain than men do. And that's one of the things that I've tried to instill in women whenever I've had a chance to give lectures and seminars. They have received me well, and they're really uplifted. And I truly hope today's message from me to you is that wherever you are, if you're watching this TV, if you happen to be a woman, God bless you, first of all. Second, rise. Rise with power for yourself, not anger to anyone, but with God's blessing, telling yourself, I am just as equal as any other human on this planet. And learn about the Declaration of Human Rights and start practicing it. And I realize it's going to be very difficult depending what country you're living in. Understand the government laws and rules and how religion affects your decision making. I don't want you to get hurt or, God forbid, be betrayed by anyone. But more importantly, it begins with one person. One person. And if that person becomes 2%, 3%, that's how things begin to move That's how goals and objectives become reality.
Exactly. Let me ask you this. I mean, you hit on a tremendous amount of very important points. Where do you believe from all of your knowledge and everything that you've done, seen, read, studied, where do you believe that this stems from where women are maybe second class or secondary to men?
Well, I believe goes back way in biblical religion, that what the Bible has written or any other holy books have written. And excuse me, people have used that as a weapon. And unfortunately, we're living in the 21st century. You should honor your religion. You should honor your holy book. You should study it, learn about it. But more importantly, you have to have your own mind, not what others tell you is for yourself to find out. It just doesn't make any sense. For example, in some religions, they say you're allowed to beat your women. In some religions, they say you're allowed to take your woman outside, dig a hole, bury her up to neck, if she did infidelity, for example, or if she spoke to other than member of her family, and stone her. Is that right? Of course not. But evil, backward people who are really not educated, they don't think about themselves, still practice that. But that's not right. No human being actually has the right to do those harms to another human being. As Julia indicated, you love your human fellow beings. It begins with love. It begins with understanding, with respect, and education more than anything else. And out of 7.2 billion people throughout the world, I believe majority are women. So look at yourself, how much power you have. Look at United States of America and other countries throughout the world. Leaders of the countries are women, and they are doing an outstanding job. We have prime ministers, women. We have presidents in some countries, women. We have queens in some countries. What is holding you back? Think about it. What is holding you back? It's your husband? Well, within the guideline of the law of the Human Rights Declaration, you have every single right as your husband or another human being. So learn about it, study about it, not with vengeance, but with love, with honorability, with persuasion of happiness. That is your role in life. But again, it's your choice. No one can force you unless you want to rise to the occasion.
Thank you for that. One point I wanted to, as you were speaking, I wanted to ask is obviously women have specific roles that man cannot fill, right? Motherhood, and probably a large part of the raising of children, there's an idea that they should be the household wife, right? We have that idea, that kind of thought that is, was obviously more prevalent earlier in time in the 30s and the 40s, prior to, and as things have definitely changed in some aspects, and I agree with everything you just said in those manners. But my question is, how should one, or how can one take those parts of being a woman, um and feel like they are maybe fulfilling that, and then also being equal with the husband, with their husband, and obviously yes, they have all of these rights, that these are their rights, they are born free and equal, and I just think that sometimes it obviously is a debatable topic, and I'm not looking necessarily to debate it, but I think there is this, can be this picture, this mantra, this idea that, well, okay, women are supposed to be home and raise the children. Yes, children need to be raised, right? And I think you would agree with that. I know you're very big on individuals being products of their environment and their, what is happening at home. So I just really was curious on what your viewpoint is, how you can help somebody with that in mind.
Well, it takes two people, then with God's blessings and creation, to create a child. Husband and wife cannot say, this is your child, you take care of it, or you love it. No, it's a combination of husband and wife, a family, a unity. There are a lot of men basically today in this world stay home and take care of their children, and women goes out to work. There's the equality that has to take place. Again, it starts with understanding of life, is understand from basic philosophy as we have spoken about your rights. It's a miracle to have a child, number one. Number two, as a woman, as a motherhood, you have an instinct with your child to raise the child, feed the child, breastfeed the child, whatever format. And if you want to stay home, that's your privilege. But also your husband has the same responsibility to help you in every way he can. He cannot say, I'm the bread maker, you're the woman inside the house, you care of the child. That's not right. What happens to a woman, the longer you stay in the house, raise a child, and you're denied of the outside findings, understanding, as I want to use the example, fresh air, which is different than your inside home, the side, the scene, what's going on, you're denied the opportunity and a privilege that you have the right to. What prevents you? Nothing. Maybe monetary, economic, to some extent, but there's always a way to grow. You can educate yourself in home. If you're fortunate to have computers, you can go online about learning education, about what grade. But more importantly, you need to discuss with your husband that we are a family, and families work together, love each other, grow with each other with respect. And there should be equal time for you as a woman to have fulfillment of your life. And nobody should deny you. Nobody. No man really can tell you, you stay home, take care of a child, I go out. No, because you have rights. You have rights. By saying, no, I don't want to do that, for example. But as I indicated, because of, again, biblical time, religion factors, what you have been raised with philosophy and ideas and your traditions, you accept it. And to me, that's not right. Because really denies you a lifetime of opportunity that God has blessed you with by bringing this world and what the human rights are. Now, human rights took many, many, many years to be placed into effect in 1948 by Eleanor Roosevelt and United Nations making it law. Every person is equal in this world. Every person almost has the same rights. So why are you denying it? It's wonderful to be a motherhood. It's wonderful to raise children, but that should not prevent you from moving on with your life. A lot of women today in this world have children, raise them marvelously. They have jobs. They are executives. They're enjoying life. And that's what you call a wonderful custom in that relationship, because your husband should be very proud of you, should praise you, so encourage you. So if you approach your husband, sweetheart, dear, I want to go ahead and become this, become that, he should be more than happy to. There are always ways to work with each other, but never ways to say, no, I'm denying you because I'm a man and you're a woman, you're a mother, and you're supposed to stay home and raise a child. That's ridiculous. I apologize for smiling or laughing. I'm not doing it with disrespect, but I'm saying a man is a fool to say that to another human being, especially his wife, his bride. You marry based on love, respect, understanding, trust, and all the things that is taking place in a marriage. And you're supposed to be best of friends. And best of friends want the best thing for each other. And if you deny someone of their rights, you're cheating them. You're stealing their time of life. And you can't do that. You just can't do that. But again, it starts with one, and two, and so forth. Then we become a village, we become a whole world. And the world belongs not just one person, it belongs to all of us. Every one of us is a universe. Every one of us. And every one of us has the power of God within you. And if you really think about it, you have the power. You have the power in an honest, peaceful manner to pursue your goals and objectives and your dreams.
Awesome. Thank you. And so let's talk about specifically now human rights and what it is. I'm sorry, did I say human rights? We are talking about human rights. I meant women's rights. And specifically what it is that you do that you feel most helps women in that area.
Well, as I indicated, I began giving lectures and seminars in the Pasadena Unified School District about 23 years ago as my giving back to the community. I felt I can inspire the youth about learning far more than what they're learning from the books, what they're learning from their teachers, which they're doing a marvelous jobs under the circumstances. Because the books that are written today for study and learning does not really expand in all areas that we're talking about. I'd love to see a book about human rights in every school, in every classroom. So every child understands, both men and women, about their rights. It begins from childhood. It begins at a young age. Once you learn about it, then you begin to initiate it in your life. But unfortunately, you ask almost 60, 70% of people throughout the world about human rights. Many people can only maybe give you one or two response as to the number of human rights that are available to you. Just like a child, you teach a child, you raise a child, you educate the child, and the child learns. And the same thing, if we had human rights in every school, that would help them, especially the rights of women. So what I do in schools, I try to approach it in a basis, as I'm talking to you, about the respect, first of all, that the men have to have for women, and vice versa. And I bring it to the level that the men do not feel inferior, for example, and a woman do not feel down. I uplift them by the things that I said to you about the power that they have, the opportunity they have. And I ask the women, or the young ladies in this case, about their background. And of course, the classes that I teach have many young ladies from different parts of the world. And in many countries, the way they were raised and they saw their parents the way they behave, they think they should be the same way. That my mother had children, raised children, stayed home, cooked, washed. That's my journey. And I tell them, no, that is not the way to pursue. Love your parents, respect your parents, honor them in any way you can. But this is the way. My point of teaching you is this. You live in this 21st century. You should pursue your goals and objectives. Don't let anyone stop you. And proceed to go to as highest level of education as you can. Then you feel more stronger. You feel more confidence. Then you feel more equal, if you feel otherwise, to a man's level of the world. And again, I tell them, as I just mentioned to you, women are more powerful, more needed than a man. Women can live without men, but men cannot live without women. So they should not be used as an object or the tool or the need for desires, not at all. They should be used, I'm using the term used with no disrespect, be in a relationship for joint, best of friendship, and base of helping each other to gain your goals, objectives.
Exactly. And I think it's incredible that you start at the youth level because I think there's so much, we live in this media age, right? And if you just took a look at, well, what do they see on TV? What do they see through social media? I would say probably not a lot of it is what you're talking about, but it is what needs to be taught. It is the basis of humanity. It is how we are going to move forward as a society, as a a culture, a planetary culture, right? We don't need to abuse one another. Women don't need to be used, you know. Everyone has the right to dream, and people should dream big, and everyone should pursue those goals, and those goals can be the raising of children, as long as that's how you want your life set up to be. So I think it's tremendous that you start with the youth, and they are fortunate to have you do that for them and all that you've done so far.
Very
Um,
true. Very true. What happens is, Julia, in families, unfortunately, children are not really educated to the level that they should. They feel that their school is a place. They take a child and dump them off at the school, say, take care of my child. You can't do that. Children, by the time they're at 2 or 3 years, they should be able to read. They should be able to understand. They should be able to speak effectively. That's the roles of parents. As they grow up, there are 3 stages up to age of 8, 13, and then 18. There has to be taught values of life, essence of life, all the equality we're talking about. That starts in a home environment, because children are the product of home environment. Parents are supposed to set them good example, loving example, respectable example, religious in a profound way. Not that my religion or our religion is better than others. No, not at all. Respect for all religions.
right,
Don't discriminate anyone because, as you mentioned, because of race, color, gender, nationality, or sexual orientation. Respect each other as a human being. Once we begin to understand we are truly one family under God, and a family is supposed to love each other, respect each other, work with each other, be there during good times, bad times, and lift each other, hopefully we can have a good life together in this universe. But in all the differences we create, all the fighting, all the wars, for not necessary if you really think about it.
right.
We
Yeah,
have truly, we have reached a point in 21st century with all the education, technology, advancement. It seems we have gone backward 1,000 years. I mean, think about it. Killing each other for what purpose? Conquering someone's country for what purpose? Hating people for what purpose? What's the gain? But we understand we are human beings, and we are diversified in our own feelings, thought process, mentality. And unfortunately, that's the way it is, but it should not be that way. We can't
right.
say just because that's the way, let it be. Well, if you have children, for the sake of their future, for the sake of their happiness, for the sake of the love that you have for them, let's make a stand that we can make a change together in this world.
Exactly. Exactly, exactly. So I want to move to a specific topic within women's rights, and wanted to find out how familiar you are with the current situation in Iran for women.
Well, I am to some extent familiar because I do keep up with the news. I have a lot of friends. But I think I would just had dinner with a dear friend of mine who was a very high prominent person in the Iranian government. And he said that a lot of advancement has been made, but unfortunately the media doesn't show it. Of course, women wear hijab because of the religion. Of course, Iran is ruled by religious mullahs, but there is also a lot of advancement has been made. And women should, again, have rights as men. And again, I said that with respect. I realize where you live, every country, every government has a different law and order, and how powerful they can be and how they can harm people if they don't abide by the rules and law. I'm not talking about uprising. I'm not talking about, God forbid, hurting anyone, but slowly together with calmness, with dialogue, with communication, you have the right through those to be able to rise to the level what God has given you, to change, improve. Change is always very painful because it takes a lot of steps, a lot of process to go through. But if you really believe in the ultimate result, is worth it. Is worth it. And I think the governments gradually will understand that. You don't have to be against them. You respect them. You respect your religion. You respect what is taught to you, but also ask questions. If a religion or a holy book tells you you have to drown yourself, does that make any sense? Of course not. You don't drown yourself. If someone says that's the book, it says, you say, no, it doesn't make any sense. But if you have not educated yourself, if you have not really thought about it, you might do it because you feel that's the way it's supposed to be. But that's not supposed to be. So education is the key foundation for your success and future. But I think in Iran, there's a lot of opportunity for all you ladies. Rise to your occasion with respect, within the guide of the law, and together. There recently, a few years ago, you all recall, because a young lady who was in prison and died, the Allender uprising took place because of hijab that she was wearing and all other things that took place. Well, one human life lost is like really the whole human life has been lost. Every human life is precious because God has created us in his own image, and we should not, first of all, think of God forbid killing each other, hurting each other. But it happens. And I'm glad that you asked that question about Iran. And I encourage all the women of Iran, FUB, God bless you, stand for your rights in the right way, within the guidelines that you feel you can. And gradually you become, instead of one, you become a whole village. Before a whole village, you become a whole country. And I'm saying again with respect, no rising, no excessive force or hate or vengeance. No, these are your rights. These are your rights. And gradually other people will understand. Other people will come to your terms. But unfortunately, as I indicated in the inception of my talk, we live in countries with different rules, regulations, religion beliefs, and guidelines. But you have choices. That is really a great power. You have choices. And once you learn that, you believe in that, you will rise. It's like breathing in new fresh air. A lot of us are afraid to take steps, make decisions of the fear of what will happen to us. Well, a lot of people in the history of this world began and took that step, and look where we are today. From the caveman, cave woman to where we are today. But unfortunately, again, with all due respect, a lot of women that hurts my heart throughout the world are suffering because of what is happening with the government, religion, mostly fanatic religions. No religion says kill. No religion says hate. No religion say you have the power over another human being. No, it's read the wrong way. All the religion is supposed to be saying we work together for loving each other, respect each other, work together as human beings, as one family under God. And that's what it is. Isn't it better to help someone to be lifted up than pushing him down? Isn't it better to give someone food when they're hungry than eat all the food? Look at how much poverty is throughout the world because the hoarding of certain governments, certain people throughout the world, because of power, and the rest suffer. So in the question that you asked, Julia, again, my response to the women of Iran would be move step by step, gather together, and create a village, and create the most powerful force that you have, your belief that what is right and what rights you have.
Well, thank you for that. That is very insightful. And I would agree, do it within the law. You have these rights, they should be respected. It doesn't need to be avengeful, but it can be started with very small acts. So tell us what is next for you, and if there's anything you're currently working on that we haven't touched on.
Well, I've been fortunate really to wear many hats, basically, as indicated. I give lectures and seminars in schools. I give motivational lectures through my motivational public speaking. I also have my own TV show. Then I'm also a president of PIA, which is called Pasadena International Association, whereas we establish relationship with different cities in different countries and try to work with them based on mutual respect, exchange students, learning about each other. And that's a really great opportunity if any young people are watching this TV show today, with the permission of your parents, connect with other children in other parts of the world. Share your stories, where you live, what you're going through, how you can empower each other. If the world began with children coming together and working together, because you will become the future leaders. And if you learn from this TV show, from the human rights, from so many other sources, you'll be surprised. Generations that will follow you, it'll begin to be better, because it starts somewhere, it ends somewhere. If you do it the right way, it'll end in a positive way. So I encourage all the children, expand your mind, your brains, minimize your activities of these foolish watching cartoons that often, watching ridiculous shows, being so involved, some of you, in drugs and various facts that are not good for you. Be healthy, be vibrant. Life is a wonderful thing that God has blessed us with. Rejoice it. Don't waste one breath of your life, because that's all we have, really. One breath at a time. I realize if your children who are watching this show, maybe my talk is a little over your head, but note that we love you, and people in this world are living because of you. And what we are doing is doing for you. But unfortunately, a lot of people, especially men, they get to a level, they forget about their responsibility. Money, power becomes more important to them than what's called the salvation of one family and their God. I think there's enough wealth to go around. And as I've said in my speeches, how many houses can you live at a time? How many beds can you sleep at a time? How many plates of food can you eat at a time? How many cars can you drive at a time? But unfortunately, that's the human nature. Many countries, they're taught, grow up, make more money, become more powerful, and that's the way the system is.
Exactly. And so looking at all of the human rights, so we asked this question as a final question to all of our guests, and that is, what is your favorite human right and why?
I really like the point to serve humanity. To serve humanity, because we have a lot of underprivileged people in this world. And you need to give them a lifting hand, inspirational talk, inspirational word, that to teach them that they do belong on the same level of all human beings in different format. When you speak to someone that has been really kind of beaten and hasn't learned about their rights, about all the opportunity that life affords them, you can see them, that they've been down, they're looking down, they're not uplifted, they're not happy, they're despaired. That's your role. Every one of us has the role of helping another human being, as we have said, and we know it's a blessings. We are really put on this planet to help each other, not to take away from each other, but to help each other. And that gives you such a gratitude, such a great feeling that you made someone's life better and you put a smile on their face.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
My pleasure.
All right. Well, I again thank you very much for taking the time and being on the show and sharing all your incredible insights and your recommendations and what it is you know, that you are doing and what everyone else should be doing and what it all looks like. You definitely paint a picture that a lot of people couldn't in terms of the importance of human rights, women's rights, and everyone to stand up for theirs. So thank you very much.
My pleasure.
That's our show for this week. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you took away with some of the incredible nuggets that Nat shared on what you can do, what you should do, what you are endowed to have as a human being on planet Earth. You take that, you don't let it just go in one ear and out the other, but you actually apply it to your life and you share it with others. Because again, not only is it our responsibility to protect our own rights, but we don't have rights until we protect others. Again, you can check out our social media. You can check out our YouTube page with titled Let's Talk About Human Rights. Our Facebook page is Youth for Human Rights California, and our Instagram and Twitter handles are at YHRCAL. And until next time, I will see you then.